All right, teachers, this video is for you. So I am Brian with Bald Guy Sci, and I'm going to be taking a break just for a little while from the science-based videos that I usually do to help you guys level up your skills for the fall. So in the next few videos and in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a series of tools, tips, and tricks to help you teach remotely once the fall arrives, no matter what that looks like. So without further ado, let's get to the video. Okay, so it is summer break and you are completely in the dark about what school's going to look like in the fall. And so in just a matter of weeks or months, depending on where you are in the country, you chose, rather than to sit back and sip on your coffee with your SPF in the sun and your floaties by the pool, you chose to level up your game here in preparation for what's going to be coming. Now, whether that means you're a noob and you haven't even started teaching in your own classroom yet, or you're an old grizzled veteran and you are going to have to teach in some new ways, either way, thanks for being here. I salute you. I will be entering my 23rd year. That's pretty crazy to think about, but here we go. So first off, congratulations. You survived one of the craziest times in teaching ever, the spring of 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I'm sure, like I did, you learned some stuff about teaching remotely, particularly things you don't want to do again, or things that you really need help with doing better. And although I don't claim to have all the answers, I did learn some things that I think I'll pass on to you that might be helpful. And I would love to hear from you about anything that you learned, tips and tricks, tools that you picked up. Go ahead and put those down in the comments as we go. But first of all, I'm just going to lay out a little bit of a disclaimer here. I'm really assuming that you are familiar with Google Docs, and that if you're not, the skills and things that I show you here using Google Docs, you have the ability to translate over to Office 365 or whatever it is that you currently work on as a learning platform. The second one is that I'm a middle school teacher. I teach science, so a lot of the tips, tricks, and tools will be able to be transferred, but you may have to use them a little bit different than the examples that I'm going to show you, okay? So first off, I'm going to go through a little bit of content delivery, and then I'll talk later about how I get the content and how I create my own. So stick around. This is going to be a multi-part series. Today is just the overview of what those things are. It'll give you some time to dive right in. If you're one of those kinds of people that just want to go out there and you're like, hey man, I'm a teacher, I got this.
You can't go in there. It's okay. I'm a limo driver.
Well, go for it, but I'm here to help. And so you can always connect with me in the comments or on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at BaldSci. I'll put that link to my social profiles there. I would love to learn from you guys as well and kind of create a community around this. But number one, and one of the things that I learned as we first started this, is that I knew I needed something to organize the learning. I wanted to package everything together in a nice, neat way. And it wasn't until later that I learned there's actually a name for this. It's called Hyperdocs. Now, there's a website out there for Hyperdocs where you can get some examples of templates and lesson plans, all sorts of different ways to organize Hyperdocs. I particularly like to do it in Google Slides. But essentially, if you don't know what it is, a hyperdoc is a document sort of on steroids, right? Basically, what that means is it's a way for you to organize all of your content in order for a particular lesson duration and to let kids follow along at their own pace. Now, you do have some control over this, and you can link and use certain tools to help kids at different stages of the game. But regardless of what the fall looks like, a hyperdoc might be a great way for you to capture your entire lesson plan in a way that's accessible for students, that allows them to go at their own pace, and allows you to sort of flip the model and be more of a coach with your kids whenever you do meet with them, whether that's virtually or in person, okay? So a hyperdoc really isn't necessarily anything that has to do with your curriculum, except it's a way for you to organize and deliver content in a step-by-step way that allows you to think through the process at first. So I'm not really going to talk about Hyperdocs, although if you go to their website, you can see that there's multiple different templates out there. I'll do that in another video, just really, really briefly. I haven't found a template that I like exactly as is. I'm sort of melding together a couple of them, like Hero's Journey and the 5 E's, which I do use from time to time when that tool fits. But so once I have that, essentially what I'm doing as a science teacher is I'm creating an anchoring video that allows me to be the one involved with delivering that first level content. So if you're creating an EQ, or you're setting up a demonstration for science, or you're posing a question to the kids, or opening up a book, or whatever, it's the hook. So I like to deliver that hook personally via video, okay? But not all the time do I really want my kids just watching the video from soup to nuts, right? So from A to Z. But I want to break it up, and I want to chunk that up in a way that allows me to insert additional learning or resources, or maybe ask questions or get feedback from them, conduct a quick formative assessment. And the tool that I use for that, which is the second tool, is called EdPuzzle. And I love EdPuzzle. So EdPuzzle allows you to pull in YouTube videos, or a video from another source like Khan Academy or whatever. And it allows you to stop the video and to not let kids move on until they complete a certain task. Now, that might be opening up a Google Doc that you've linked. It might be answering a question, or completing a poll, reading another article. But what's nice about EdPuzzle is they can go back as many times as they need to actually watch the video if the answer's in the video. So I'll give you an example of one that I've done here with my students using a Red Bull video that I thought was really, really cool. And I was inserting some science-based math skills into that they had to go back and look on screen and then do some figuring and whatnot. And I'll put a link to that EdPuzzle actually in the description. But really cool, great way for you to break up you just being a talking head and actually get some information from your students. And you actually see that on a dashboard on the back side. You can grade them, you can give them back to the kids. Really, really great resource. It connects seamlessly with Google Classroom. But more on EdPuzzle in the EdPuzzle video, which is coming up. My third tip is going to be Flipgrid. So I initially started using Flipgrid in my classroom, and the kids loved it, but I wasn't getting great use of it because we were there. So I'm going to be taking advantage of Flipgrid in the fall to get feedback from my students in several ways. But here's basically what Flipgrid is. It's sort of like EdPuzzle, where you put out a video, and it could be a prompt, it could be a lesson, it could be a question, and then your students respond to you and even to one another if you want them to in a short video format. So if you want to have your homeroom, or maybe you have an advisory or whatever you might call it, you want to have those students introduce themselves to one another. Or maybe you want to have them interview a family member and introduce that family member via video. So lots of ways that you can get at those 21st century skills with Flipgrid. Now, it does integrate with Google Classroom. And I'll give you some tips on how I'm going to be using Flipgrid in the fall to get feedback from my students, to maybe capture their think alouds before they do a claim evidence reasoning. I might actually have them capture their predictions when I do a science demonstration, if I'm doing it virtually like this. So Flipgrid is an awesome way that brings about this higher level video engagement that kids like so much, but it allows them to do that in a way where you can respond, curate, and control how much they collaborate with one another. All right, so my fourth tool, but really it's only the third one, I'm not counting the Hyperdocs, is going to be Gimkit. Now I know some people use Kahoot, Quizlet. It really doesn't matter what you choose to use. I've chosen to pay for Gimkit because I think gamifying those concepts is actually the best. If you're not familiar with it, make sure you check out that tutorial on Gimkit, which will be coming up. And when it's there, I'll link all these. The little cards will pop up over my head here. But Gimkit essentially was created by some high school students. And what they did is they took vocabulary and review terms that were going on in their classroom, and they created a game. So as you get questions right, you get money, and as you get them wrong, you lose money. But when you get them right, you can buy power-ups, and it's sort of a race to earn a certain amount of money. Now, you can deploy these in a lot of different ways, but I've found that similar to Quizlet or Kahoot, kids are highly engaged and motivated to play and learn all at the same time. What I think is a little bit better about Gimkit is I can assign them, you have 2 days to get $500,000 from this vocab setting. So any vocab that come out in my anchoring video that I've maybe tried to reinforce on EdPuzzle, or I brought about an online text set, Basically, if I have a set of vocabulary that I maybe got from the kids from a Gimkit or an EdPuzzle question or a Google form, however I did that, I've got my set now, and I want to review that vocabulary that's connected to what I'm going through. This is like my go-to tool that allows kids to gamify the experience. They'll play it over and over and over. In a virtual environment, whether you are 100% virtual or remote in the fall, or you're 50-50 or some weird thing that they come up with, these are some of the tools I think that will allow you to still be in charge of putting content out there or guiding students to it or coaching them in the process. And although there are just a couple of them, these are the ones that I find I'm going to gravitate towards the most. Now, if you have a tool that's online that you use, whether free or paid, doesn't really matter, please put that down in the comments right now, because I'd love to learn from you guys as well. I mean, there's a million tools out there. You can't learn them all, but finding the ones that fit your teaching style and your students and your needs, your age level curriculum, all that stuff, if you can find something that really helps you do what you do better than you did before, that's just gold.
That's gold, Jerry. Gold!
We need to learn from each other. I'll be looking forward to seeing those in the comments. Okay, guys, so here's your homework. Go out there and sign up for Hyperdocs and Gimkit and EdPuzzle and Quizlet or whatever else you got from this video. And be prepared, because I'm going to be doing a detailed video on each one of these starting next week. And so I really hope this was helpful. Please, if you have tips or tools, tricks that you want to share with the community, go ahead and put them in the comments down below, or link up with me on social media and share those things there. For a limited time only, this is Bry Guy Tech Ed.